Malaysia is the only country on Earth where three major races live together, yet nobody's fighting a civil war. How is that even possible? Walk down any street in Penang, and you'll see mosques next to temples next to churches, all on the same block. But this harmony? It's hiding something darker. Something that's about to explode. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why Malaysia might be the most unique country in the world, or a ticking time bomb. But wait. Before we begin, please subscribe to ensure that you never miss out on any of my essential stuff. Comment "I subscribe" below, and I will personally welcome you to our community. With that said, let's get started. Let me introduce you to Raj. He's 34, runs a mamak stall in Georgetown, Penang. His best friend? Malay. His supplier? Chinese. And every year, he celebrates Deepavali with his Tamil family, then goes to his friend's open house for Hari Raya, then helps his Chinese neighbors set off firecrackers for Chinese New Year. I eat roti canai for breakfast, char kway teow for lunch, nasi lemak for dinner, he told me. That's just Tuesday. Here's what makes this insane. Malaysia's population is 69% Bumiputera, mostly ethnic Malays, 23% Chinese, and 7% Indian. That's three completely different races, religions, and languages. And yet, zero ethnic cleansing in modern history. No civil war. No genocide. A 2023 Pew Research study shows Malaysia has an 88% religious diversity acceptance rate. That's higher than Canada at 79%. Higher than Australia at 82%. Malaysia, a Muslim-majority country in Southeast Asia, is more tolerant than Western democracies. But here's where it gets complicated. That perfect picture? It's cracking. And the Malaysian government knows it. Malaysia went from jungle warfare to skyscrapers in just 40 years. But the story you've been told about Asian economic miracles? It's incomplete. Meet Wei Ling. She's 56 now. Back in 1985, she was working in a semiconductor factory in Penang, making $2 a day. Her hands bled from handling silicon wafers for 12-hour shifts. But she saw something nobody else did. By 2004, she'd saved enough to start her own tech component company. Today, in 2024, her factory exports parts to Apple, Samsung, and Tesla. When I asked her how she did it, she said something that stuck with me. Malaysia gave me something China couldn't: stability and cheap labor. Malaysia's GDP per capita jumped from $1,200 in 1980 to $12,400 in 2024. That's a 933% increase. The World Bank's 2024 report ranks Malaysia as the number 3 best emerging market for tech manufacturing, right after Vietnam and India. And then there's palm oil. Those green oceans you see from the plane? Malaysia produces 28% of the entire world's palm oil supply. Every Oreo you've ever eaten, every lipstick, every instant noodle, there's a good chance Malaysian palm oil is in it. But this wealth, it created a monster the government can't control anymore. What if I told you Malaysia has legal racial preferences written into law? And it's tearing the country apart? It's called the Bumiputera policy. Introduced in 1971 after race riots that killed hundreds. The idea was simple. Ethnic Malays had been economically left behind by Chinese and Indian immigrants. So the government created affirmative action. On steroids. Here's how it works. 30% of corporate ownership must go to Malays. University admissions? Sometimes 90% of spots are reserved for Malays, even if Chinese and Indian students score higher. Housing discounts. Business permits. Government contracts. All tilted toward one race. Meet Ahmad. He's 29, a Malay engineer working for Petronas, Malaysia's state oil company. He got into the top engineering university with grades that wouldn't have qualified if he were Chinese or Indian. I feel guilty sometimes, he admitted to me. But my grandparents were poor rice farmers in Kedah. Without this policy, I'd probably be tapping rubber trees right now. Now meet Lena. She's 31, Chinese, and runs a RM50 million e-commerce company. But here's the twist, she runs it from Singapore. I scored straight A's in SPM, that's our national exam, she told me. Got rejected from every public university in Malaysia because of quota systems. So you know what? I left. Malaysia educated me, paid for my schooling, then told me I wasn't good enough. So now Singapore gets my tax money. Since 2010, Malaysia has lost 2.6 million citizens to emigration. And here's the part that should terrify the government. 70% of them are Chinese and Indian professionals. Doctors, engineers, programmers. The exact people Malaysia needs to compete globally. A 2023 study by the Penang Institute calculated Malaysia loses $16.8 billion annually in brain drain. That's not just money. That's innovation. That's future GDP. That's gone. And now, there's a new group nobody saw coming. Malaysia is losing its best people, but importing millions of others. And it's changing everything. Her name is Yasmin. She's 19, Rohingya, and she fled the Myanmar genocide in 2017 with her mother and 2 younger siblings. Now she lives in a cramped apartment in Kuala Lumpur. Illegally. Because Malaysia doesn't recognize refugees. She works cash-only jobs, cleaning houses, washing dishes at night markets. Her siblings can't go to school. If police catch them, they risk detention and deportation back to Myanmar, where they'd likely be killed. Malaysians call us pendatang, foreigners, she said quietly. But aren't they also descendants of immigrants? She's right. Malaysia hosts 183,000 UN-registered refugees. But estimates put the real number, including undocumented migrants, closer to 500,000. Add in legal foreign workers, Bangladeshis, Indonesians, Nepalis, Filipinos, and you get 2.4 million foreign workers. That's 20% of Malaysia's entire workforce. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Bangladeshi workers built the Petronas Towers. Indonesian maids raise Malaysian children. Nepali security guards protect Malaysian malls. But they have zero legal rights. A 2024 International Labour Organization report documented widespread abuse. Withheld passports, unpaid wages, physical violence. And Malaysians? Many are angry. They're taking our jobs, I heard over and over. But here's the twist nobody wants to admit. Malaysia's economy would collapse without them. Construction would stop. Palm oil plantations would rot. Restaurants would close. And the government knows it. Malaysia's constitution says Islam is the official religion. But 40% of the population isn't Muslim. So how does that actually work? Meet Sarah. She's 27, ethnic Malay, and she left Islam 5 years ago. Except, legally, she didn't. Because in Malaysia, you can't. If I try to officially renounce Islam, I have to go through Sharia court, she explained. They'll send me to a rehabilitation center, which is really just religious prison. I could be there for months. So instead, I just hide. She can't marry her non-Muslim boyfriend. Can't inherit property as a non-Muslim. Can't even publicly say she's not Muslim without risking jail time. In 2023 alone, there were 1,080 Sharia court cases in Malaysia. 34 of those were for deviating from Islamic teachings. A 2022 Human Rights Watch report documented religious police in 11 Malaysian states enforcing Islamic law, but only on Muslims. Here's where it gets weird. Non-Muslims can drink alcohol, eat pork, wear whatever they want, go to nightclubs. But if a Muslim is caught doing the same things, they can be arrested, fined, even caned. Walk into any nightclub in Kuala Lumpur on a Friday night, and it's packed with Chinese and Indian Malaysians. But Muslims? They risk raids by religious authorities. This double standard is creating two separate Malaysias. And young people are fed up. But here's where the story flips. Gen Z Malaysians? They're done with the old rules. Meet Amir, Jenny, and Kumar. Amir's Malay Muslim. Jenny's Chinese Buddhist. Kumar's Indian Hindu. And together, they run one of Malaysia's most viral TikTok accounts, exposing political corruption, calling out racial politics, and mocking outdated policies. In 8 months, they hit 1.2 million followers. We don't care about race anymore, Jenny told me. We care about Wi-Fi speed, job opportunities, and whether we can afford a house before we're 40. And they're not alone. The 2023 general election saw 60% youth voter turnout, up from just 38% in 2018. And you know what they did? They voted out the Barisan Nasional coalition that had ruled Malaysia for 61 years. A 2024 Merdeka Center poll shows 72% of Malaysians aged 18 to 30 believe racial politics is outdated. And the new Prime Minister? Anwar Ibrahim. A man who was literally a political prisoner. Jailed for challenging the system. Now he's running the country. So is Malaysia finally changing? Or is this just a temporary pause before the next explosion? Right now, Malaysia is standing at a crossroads. And what happens next could reshape all of Southeast Asia. There are 3 possible futures. 1. The Singapore model. Scrap racial preferences. Become a pure meritocracy. Compete globally on talent alone. But risk massive Malay backlash, political chaos, maybe even violence. 2. The Indonesia path. Embrace Islamic conservatism more strongly. Make Malaysia more Islamic in policy and culture. But lose Chinese and Indian talent forever. Kiss foreign investment goodbye. 3. Malaysia's own way. Keep the messy balance. Let economics gradually erase racial divisions. Hope the younger generation builds something new. But risk staying stuck in the middle-income trap forever. Dr. Bridget Welsh, a political scientist at the University of Nottingham, Malaysia, told me something I can't stop thinking about. Malaysia is the most fascinating social experiment in modern Asia. If they succeed, they'll prove diversity actually works. If they fail, it'll justify ethno-nationalism everywhere else. Remember Raj? The Mamak stall owner we met at the beginning? I asked him if he'd ever leave Malaysia. He laughed. My grandfather came here with nothing. Malaysia gave us a chance. Yeah, it's unfair sometimes. The system's broken in a lot of ways. But where else can a Tamil guy like me joke with a Malay policeman while serving roti to a Chinese businessman? Nowhere. That's why I'm staying. Because this place is real. And maybe that's the point. Malaysia's 2024 GDP growth hit 5.1%, outpacing Singapore at 2.8% and Thailand at 3.2%. Somehow, despite everything, despite the contradictions and the chaos and the unfairness, it's working. So here's my question for you. Would you rather live in a country that's perfectly organized but boring? Or beautifully chaotic but real? Malaysia bet on chaos. And somehow, it's working. Drop your country in the comments. Could your country survive Malaysia's experiment? I'm reading every single comment. The most unique answer gets pinned.